So I am calling it the Anger Be Gone Calming Salve because I get mad easily. I'm not going to deny that. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, I am 𝕬𝕓𝕤 and I am the eclectic herbalist. My sister is here. We're back a little bit later. My sister-in-law came over for a visit. Anyways, so back to the salve. So in today's video, I'm just kind of showing you guys how I made my first herbal salve, and being that it's my first one, I am pretty proud with how it came out. There were a few things I will definitely be tweaking just because there was some solidified beeswax that got into the oil. I don't know. Beeswax gets beeswax solidifies really fast, so I took the oil out, wiped my beeswax jar down and poured it in, and by that point there was like chunks. And then also I will probably in the future use a little bit more herbs or orange peel in the infusion, but let's go ahead and get into the video. Firstly, you will want about 1 ounce of beeswax. Next, you'll want to add chamomile, which soothes anxiety but also has purification properties. And since we want to purify ourselves of the negative, angry energies, this will be an herb to turn to for this salve. Next we have lavender, and lavender is great for bringing happiness and love, tranquility. It's a great healing herb, so it really is the main herb. The last ingredient I add to this infusion is orange peel. I add it for its joy and love properties, so it's more of the positive and uplifting side for this salve. And then you will need a cup of your choice of oil. I chose olive oil, but it is up to you. So let's get started. First, you're going to want to fill your jar up with the herbs. So right here I didn't really have a measurement of herbs, I just kind of eyeballed it. Either way, the 1 cup of olive oil was able to cover the amount of herbs I put in. So I used fresh orange. I did have 3 oranges, but for some reason I only used bits of 1. I do recommend probably using a little bit more peel. I will use that for future reference for myself. And of course, you're going to want to measure your oil out before putting it in the jar. Unlike how I did with the herbs, the oil I wanted to be a little bit more precise with. You're going to want to stir the oil and herbs just to make sure all of the herbs are coated. This would be the perfect time to add in a little magic. For me, I stirred clockwise to bring in positive and calming energies, and then counterclockwise to banish any negative energies. I set my crock pot to high and let the herbs and oil just kind of hang out in the little jacuzzi for about 6 hours. You'll want to be sure to stir your oil and herbs frequently during this time. Again, stirring clockwise or counterclockwise with your intent. During this time, I did put together an infused honey, so I did watch one of my favorite YouTubers, The Green Witch, while I got that together. To keep track of recipes and what I do like and tweaks I can make, I have been writing everything down in this crummy little notebook I have. This is actually the following day. After letting them slow cook for 6 hours, I covered them and let them rest overnight, and then in the morning I slow cooked them again for another 2 hours before the straining process. Now for straining, I did only use the wire strainer. If you want to double up and add a mesh cloth, you can. I did find with only using the wire strainer, I did have bits of chamomile in it, which is no big deal, but if you do prefer a more filtered look in your salve, I would recommend adding the cloth as well as the mesh strainer. Next, you're going to want to either squeeze or press all the remaining oils out of those herbs and peels to get all of that goodness right into that jar. Once all your oil is strained, you're going to want to put it back in the crock pot, and you're going to want to add another jar to start melting your beeswax in. Not only do you want to melt the beeswax, but you want to get the oil up to temperature so that when you mix them together, you won't have chunks of solidified beeswax like I did. Also to note, you'll want to make sure your crock pot does get up to a high enough temperature. I did have to boil a pot of water and add it to my crock pot in order to get the beeswax to melt, because it was just taking a really long time. You can also add, if you so choose, essential oil. I added lavender. You could add lavender, chamomile, or orange, whatever herb we are currently using. I only added 3 drops because I didn't want lavender to overpower the fragrance, but I may add a bit more because it actually is not a very fragrant salve. Here's where I personally feel I messed up. I should have left the jar of oil in the crock pot to stay at that temperature. As you can see, when I start stirring, other than what is on the end of my fork, a lot of the wax did get solid or turn solid while waiting for me to stir it. With the remaining mix, I did put it back into the crock pot and added some coconut oil just to kind of test out how that mixture will turn out. If you want to add a little decorative touch, you can add the dry herbs to it as it starts to turn solid. That way it looks all cute and artsy for you. So the process actually did take 2 days. After I infused it for about 6 hours the first day, I covered it and let it sit overnight. So I had it in the crock pot in kind of a double boiler system. And then the next morning, I want to say I put it on high in the crock pot again for an hour or two because I was at work, which is literally just outside of my living room. But then after that, I took it out, strained it. After I strained the herbs and the orange peel from my oil, I then placed the jar back into the crock pot as you saw and started on my wax. The wax took quite some time, or maybe it was just because my crock pot doesn't get too hot. I do plan on getting a heating plate to have so I don't have to keep running to the kitchen or boiling a pot of water. And I might, like I said, infuse a little bit longer because the fragrance wasn't as strong as I'd like it to be. So I'd either infuse it a little bit longer or maybe add a few more drops of essential oils. But other than that, I am quite pleased with the outcome. I added like the little flowers, so I'm really pleased with that. It looks really pretty. Other than, I don't know if you can see it because I can't see, I don't have a viewfinder, but you can see the beeswax that solidified while I was pouring, or that got mixed in there. So I want to definitely get it to be a more consistent solid color, and I want it to be stronger in fragrance. But I am testing these out to see how they go. And as you saw in the video, I did add coconut oil to the remaining salve mixture that was in the jar, and I have that just kind of chilling up in my cabinet. So when I want to make more, I can use that. I added coconut oil to that one to see if just the feeling would be different, I guess. That's kind of all I had for today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed watching it. If you do want to catch that video of the honey infusion, or if you are interested in just following along on my herbalism journey, please hit that subscribe button. I do post weekly. If you do have any topics, whether it be herbalism related or witchcraft related, please leave it in a comment below and I will be sure to either respond as quick as I can or make a whole video on the topic for you. But again, I hope you guys have a lovely evening and I will catch you guys on my next video. Bye!
Sem nem perceber, sobre reis e talvez seja melhor nem dizer. Eu vim lá da zona oeste, ela é menina da zona sul.